피곤하고 따분한 지구 생활에 안녕을 말할 시간. 우리는 이제 우주로 갑니다. 우주. 세상의 모든 구도, 우주에서 만나다.
우주?
모두의 구동 유니버스, T 우주.
We welcome you on board Korean Air.
Excellence in Flight, Korean Air.
Welcome to the second open session of the day. I am Byung-Hoon Chung, CEO of a blockchain media, D-Street. Today, we have a very interesting session on the future of Ethereum and cryptocurrency investment. Our speaker today is Mr. Vitalik Buterin, creator of Ethereum. As most of you already know, Ethereum is an open-sourced blockchain-based platform and has the second largest market value in cryptocurrency after Bitcoin. Vitalik and I had a session together here at World Knowledge Forum 2 years ago, and it's great to have you back with us. Today's moderator, Eun Gwang-ju, is a co-founder and CTO of Blockcrafters, which operates Haru Invest. Haru Invest is a global service that helps investors increase their digital asset by 15% per year and currently supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT. Vitalik will give us a talk on the future of Ethereum, followed by discussions on recently popular topics on blockchain, such as DeFi, NFT, and Metaverse. If you have any questions, please leave them on the comment section, and we'll get to them after the discussion. So without further ado, here's Mr. Vitalik Buterin.
Okay, thank you. Today, what I will talk about is just an overview of where Ethereum is going from a technical perspective. We have this very exciting event coming up, looking early next year that we called the merge. So a complete switch from proof of work to proof of stake, and what the merge and what some of the things that we are doing around the merge and aside from the merge and after the merge are going to mean for the Ethereum ecosystem. So last month we did the London hard fork on Ethereum, and EIP 1559 was the largest protocol change in the London hard fork. It changed how the transaction fee market worked. It made it much easier to send transactions and get transactions included onto the blockchain quickly. It also added a change to the monetary policy. So now that all of those things are finished, the top priority for the entire Ethereum ecosystem right now is completing the switch to proof of stake. So proof of stake has been a priority for Ethereum almost since the beginning. In January 2014, I published the first blog post where I described this mechanism called Slasher, which is a proof of stake consensus mechanism. And since then, we've been refining and improving the proof of stake design. And in about 2018, we really started work on the Ethereum 2.0 beacon chain. And from there, we, well, after about 3 years of doing that work, the beacon chain has finally it's already launched. It's already existed for about 8 months. Actually about 9 months now, but we're almost ready to actually move the entire existing Ethereum ecosystem onto the proof of stake beacon chain. So today, what we have is we have the existing Ethereum chain. The existing Ethereum chain runs on proof of work, and it's run on proof of work since the beginning for the last 7 years. And we also have the beacon chain, which is a proof of stake chain. Right now, it's the proof of work chain is keeping track of all of the transactions. The proof of stake chain is not keeping track of anything. Right now, the proof of stake chain only exists by itself, and this is just a temporary training period. It's a temporary period where we just verify that everything about the proof of stake mechanism works. It does everything that we expect it to do, and after about 1 year of running the proof of stake chain by itself, it will be safe to combine the proof of work and the proof of stake chain together and remove the proof of work and have all the existing Ethereum applications run only on the proof of stake chain. So this is what we call the merge. So right now we have proof of work chain and the proof of stake chain. After the merge, there will only be a proof of stake chain, and all of the applications, all of the smart contracts, and all of the accounts will be living on the proof of stake chain. So the proof of stake beacon chain, it has already been running successfully for more than 9 months. The participation rate is around 98%. So almost all of the proof of stake validators, the nodes running in the network, are doing an excellent job of staying online, signing messages, and coming to a consensus on blocks. So it's over the next maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. it's time to fully retire a proof of work and let the proof of stake beacon chain run the entire Ethereum ecosystem. So EIP 3675, this is this EIP that was published to represent the merge. So it was released almost 2 months ago. This fully describes the mechanism for how the consensus can be upgraded from proof of work to proof of stake for the existing Ethereum chain. And there are already many dev teams that are actively working on making this happen. So what will the merge look like, right? So maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, the roadmap for the switch to proof of stake was much more disruptive. So like the roadmap in 2018 basically said every single application that's currently on the proof of work chain will have to manually move over to the proof of stake chain. But since then, we have made a lot of improvements to the roadmap, and right now the roadmap is almost completely backwards compatible. So existing applications, applications that exist on Ethereum today, do not need to do anything around the merge. Everything in Ethereum today will just automatically be moved and will continue existing inside of the proof of stake beacon chain. Existing Ethereum users, so users that run Ethereum nodes today, so anyone who is running Geth or Base or Nethermind or Aragon will also needs to download and run a beacon chain client. So beacon chain clients, there's 4 of them, 4 big ones: Lighthouse, Nimbus, Prism, and Teku. And instead of the Ethereum chain following a proof of work, after the merge, the Ethereum chain, so the chain that contains all of the transactions, will just be embedded inside. It will just live inside the proof of stake beacon chain. So users will barely notice the transition. Everything after the merge will look very similar to how it looked before the merge. There will be very few differences, except instead of the chain following proof of work, the chain will follow proof of stake. So the experience is designed to be extremely seamless for users. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot more development, a lot more testing of this, and this is something that the ecosystem will be working hard on over the next few months. But the results should be a very smooth transition from proof of work to proof of stake. So why the merge, right? So the main reasons behind the switch to proof of stake, one is to solve Ethereum's energy efficiency problems. So blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum get criticized a lot for environmental impacts and energy inefficiency. And proof of stake completely solves this problem. So proof of work mining requires these large ASIC farms, this large amount of computer hardware that has to be manufactured, it has to be transported, and then it requires a huge amount of electricity. And the hardware has to run 24/7. So, you can't your electricity sources just have to be the electricity sources that are always available. And so it can take away energy from other use cases. So all of these problems go away completely with proof of stake. Proof of stake reduces energy use by somewhere between 99.9 and to 99.99%. So basically to 0. Also, the merge will reduce the ETH issuance rate by somewhere between 4 to 10x. So currently, there is about 4.7 million ETH being issued and rewarded to proof of work miners every year. After the merge, this will reduce to a smaller number. Now, what that smaller number is will actually depend on how many validators participate in proof of stake validation. But it will be somewhere between like 400,000 and 1 million ETH, most likely. And also remember that from this number, you subtract out the ETH that's being burned in EIP 1559. So after the merge, there will probably actually be more ETH being destroyed than ETH being created. Also, increasing security against attacks. So attacks will be much more difficult to make. And if you make a 51% attack, you will lose. Basically, it will be extremely expensive. Potentially, an attacker will lose hundreds of thousands or even millions of ETH making their attack. So proof of stake will make a lot of nice things happen. Proof of stake will make Ethereum very beautiful, and proof of stake will make Ethereum very, very successful, and make it easier for a bright new ecosystem of lots of amazing applications to build on top of it. But proof of stake is not the only thing that we are working on, right? So proof of stake solves Ethereum's energy efficiency problems, and it makes Ethereum more secure, and it does some other smaller things. It makes block times more predictable. It makes Ethereum more light client friendly. But there are also other important problems in Ethereum that we need to solve and that we are solving. And I think anyone who has been following Ethereum or trying to build things on Ethereum recently will be very aware of the other very big problem. And that big problem is scaling. So why scaling? Right? So why do we need to solve scaling? I think the success of the NFT ecosystem this year shows that Ethereum has a lot of value going beyond finance. So before this year, I think the narrative was that the main high value use case of Ethereum is DeFi, decentralized finance. And there's a lot of great things that are being done in DeFi, but NFTs show that Ethereum has great value going beyond finance. The kind of community that NFTs attracts is very different from the DeFi community. The NFT community has artists, it has musicians, it has just all sorts of just interesting and creative people. It's attracting people from all around the world. And another thing that it shows is that a big part of the value of blockchains is their ability to mix finance and non-finance together, right? So NFTs are art. Art is non-financial, but at the same time, NFTs are something you can sell, and you can sell NFTs, and you can use this as a way of funding many kinds of things. So, like NFTs have already been used to fund books. They've been used to fund longevity research. They have, I think, been used to fund some just donations to just all kinds of just organizations doing like writing and intellectual work of different kinds. They have been used to finance kind of musicians, artists. So there's a lot of interesting things happening in the NFT space, but the problem is that these applications need lower fees, right? If all you want to do is create a financial system for rich people, then having it cost $127.40 to send a transaction is totally okay, because rich people can pay $127.40. But if we want blockchains to be something that actually empowers everyday regular people, then we just have to find a way to lower fees. And financial applications need to lower fees too. There's a lot of people in even places that outside of wealthy countries, in places like Africa, the Middle East, Palestine, Afghanistan, Latin America, Panama, Venezuela, just lots of different places, and they have all of their different reasons to use cryptocurrency. Often just because just the local financial infrastructure for whatever reasons is just completely not inclusive. But the problem is that if blockchain finance is extremely expensive to use, then all of these people cannot use it. So scaling is very important for both DeFi and for things that are not DeFi. Scaling is important for everyone. So right now, Ethereum is already starting to scale, and it's doing scaling through layer 2s. So layer 2 protocols are protocols that sit on top of the blockchain. They get all of their security from the Ethereum blockchain, but they do not do all of their computation and all of their data on the Ethereum blockchain. So they use the blockchain for security, but they also do a lot of work off-chain, and because of this, they end up being able to save a huge portion of transaction fees. So depending on how well a rollup is done, it can increase scaling by a factor of 10 to 100. So the three main projects that people are excited about right now are Arbitrum, Optimism, and Polygon. So Arbitrum is an optimistic rollup project, and it's available now. Optimistic rollups are just one kind of rollup. They use a technology called fraud proofs. The other kind of rollup is called a ZK rollup, which uses validity proofs. In the long term, I think ZK rollups and validity proofs are going to win. But in the short term, optimistic rollups and fraud proofs are easier to implement. This is why the optimistic rollups are coming out faster right now. But 5 years from now, maybe even the optimistic rollups will just switch to being ZK rollups. We'll see. So Arbitrum available now. Optimism, optimistic rollup project. It's available for some applications now, and it will open up for all applications soon. Polygon is currently a sidechain, so data is off-chain, and so Polygon does not have security guarantees in it. Beyond its kind of Polygon's own a smaller validator set, the way it exists today. But recently Polygon acquired Hermes, which is this very large ZK project, and so Polygon has plans to become a ZK rollup over time. So all great projects. Encourage you to check out all of them. They're all amazing. So there is even a site, l2fees.info. It tracks how the fees on all of the layer 2s are much cheaper than the fees on Ethereum itself. Aztec Protocol, actually, it's only a little bit cheaper than Ethereum, but Aztec Protocol is very powerful because it also has support for privacy. And Optimism and Arbitrum are the general purpose ones. Polygon is a side chain, so that's why it has lower fees but lower security for now. And Loopring and ZK Sync, they have much better technology for really optimizing how much data goes on chain. So Loopring and ZK Sync can just afford to have much cheaper transactions, but Loopring and ZK Sync are not yet general purpose. But I expect that over time, like Loopring and ZK Sync will become general purpose, and I expect Arbitrum and Optimism to have better data compression. So over time, I expect all of the rollups to be great. So rollups can increase Ethereum scalability. They can, by a factor of 10 to 100, in the long term, closer to 100. And you can see this already with the lower fees that Loopring and ZK Sync have today, right? But we can go even further, and this is where sharding comes in. So sharding is another scaling technology. Sharding basically says, instead of every node needing to download all of the data, every node only touches a small portion of the data. And this achieves much higher scalability because the capacity of the blockchain can grow much bigger than the amounts that one single computer can process. So sharding can increase scalability for rollups even more. So if you add sharding on top of rollups, you can imagine all of these fees being as low as 1 cent. Maybe if they go down to 1 cent and then everyone realizes how awesome Ethereum is and Ethereum takes over the world, they might go back up to 5 cents, but it will still be much cheaper than anything that we see today. So rollups plus sharding, very powerful combination. So if you do the math, rollups and sharding together can increase scalability to up to 100,000 transactions per second. And in the long term, conclusions. And all of these improvements with proof of stake and all of these transaction fees are going to be solved. And attestations, identity, enterprise applications, everything. Use blockchains for the last 5 years. Theory, right? All of the ideas that I talked about today, they all have at least a test implementation or more.
Okay, it seems we have a little technical difficulty, so I'm not sure if Vitalik could still hear us.
Is it better now?
Can you hear us, Vitalik?
Yes, I can. Can you?
Okay, I think we kind of lost you from the later section of sharding. Or do you want to just start with the conclusions?
Okay, sure. So sharding. That. Exactly.
Okay, Vitalik, I think we're losing the internet connection, but if you can still hear us, why don't we just go to Eun-Gwang and he will give us, he will ask some questions that he prepared for you.
I will try switching to a different internet.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay. So, right, so sharding, it will increase scalability by a factor of 100. It will push fees down to hopefully less than 1 cent. So a lot of good things will happen from sharding. So conclusion is that Ethereum in the future will be a very scalable platform. It will be cheap. Transaction fees will be low. Proof of stake will make it secure. It will be easy to use. And all of these things will make it possible to actually do all of the financial applications, NFTs, enterprise applications, everything that people have been wanting to use Ethereum to do over the last 5 years. Once proof of stake and sharding are done, it will actually be possible to do these things. And finally, none of these ideas around proof of stake or scaling are just theory. All of these ideas have at least a test implementation, and sometimes in some cases, they are already live today. So proof of stake, the beacon chain has been running live for over 9 months, and the merge has already had prototypes. For scaling, optimistic rollups, some are already on mainnet and they're continuing to work. Sharding, there is already proof of concept implementations. So these are not just ideas; these are all code. And proof of stake and scaling are all coming soon. And I hope that people are going to be ready for them.
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation. And here we have Eun-Gwang. He's going to ask you some questions about the popular topics on blockchain.
Hi, Vitalik. My name is In Gwangju, and thank you for having me in this great stage for the great forum. I prepared my virtual identity for this stage. I would say the metaverse future is already here. I would introduce myself first. I'm a co-founder and CTO of Haru Invest, which is the safest and easiest crypto investment service. And you can, of course, deposit ETH to Haru Invest to simply earn more ETH. Yeah, and I have many questions for you, Vitalik, if we have enough time, and I will do one by one. And yeah, I'm going to get to the first one right away. Vitalik, you already mentioned the London hard fork and EIP 1559, and congratulations for the successful hard fork. So it was a very important milestone for Ethereum, and I'm sensitive to gas fee as other users because our Haru Invest users are sometimes complaining that it takes too much gas fee to deposit ETH and USD Tether to Haru Invest. So it's a great news for me and my team too. But on the other hand, as ETH is being burned now, we faced a historic deflation moment of Ethereum about like 10 days ago for the first time. So Vitalik, you once were worried about the increased price of ETH, emphasizing the real world adoption of Ethereum. And I'm kind of worried if the increased gas fee can kick out retail consumer users from the platform. So here's my question. What's your point of view to this deflation of ETH, and how would you expect the price of ETH? Yeah, this is the first question. Yeah.
Right. And so I think ETH becoming more expensive is not a problem by itself. I think the thing that is a problem is transaction fees becoming too expensive, right? Like those two markets are different, right? There's nothing wrong with a higher ETH price. A higher ETH price by itself doesn't like cause any applications to become expensive. What makes applications become more expensive is just the fact that transaction fees are going up because there's so much on blockchain. So those problems are exactly why we have been working so much on scaling. So yeah, I mentioned rollups, I mentioned sharding. So like, these are the solutions. So if you have, like today, they can, or very soon, they will be building something, you can and should start moving it to layer 2s today. And over time, the layer 2 protocols will get better and better. And eventually with sharding, they're going to just become extremely scalable. So I think as layer 2s become more mature, lots of applications are going to move to layer 2s, and things will become much easier for developers again.
Yeah, the network is not stable in the middle, but
No.
I think, but I think I got most of your answers. But thank you, and I actually have tracked Ethereum for the last 3 and 4 years, and I have seen the Ethereum protocol itself has been matured a lot for the last few years, and I see that ETH 2.0 is on the horizon. It's the civilized feature of ETH, as you said. So many people have heard about the Serenity milestone, but only few knows about the next step after Serenity. So please tell us what's the next. Can you hear me?
Yes, only a few people know about the next step after Serenity.
Yeah. So like, can you tell us like after we reach to the Serenity, and what would be the next step?
Okay, so so the next big step for Ethereum right now is the merge. So after the merge, there will be a hard fork after the merge that will like what we call the cleanup fork. It just makes a bunch of things simpler. It removes a bunch of things that are not needed anymore because we have the merge. After that, we have sharding. And at the same time as sharding, we have stateless clients. So stateless clients are a protocol change that will just make it more efficient to run a node that verifies the Ethereum chain. So we'll have sharding, we'll have stateless clients, we will have, and then there are also going to be other improvements like account abstraction that will happen at around the same time. So those are the three things in the short term. And of course, rollups will continue to improve. And then in the long term, I expect sharding will continue to get better. I expect we'll have some improvements to the proof of stake consensus mechanism. And I expect we will have some after some improvements with new kinds of cryptography. And after that, I think the Ethereum chain is actually not going to change that much. I think after that, most of the innovation is going to happen in rollups and other layer 2 protocols. So like after we have ZK rollups that can support the EVM, which I think will be a big milestone, then it will be possible to have very scalable applications, and moving in between different rollups is going to become very easy. So that is. I think people are expecting the first versions of ZK EVM rollups to happen either next year or the year after that, we don't know yet, but like when those do become mainstream, it will also be very big. So I think the summary is that just more scalability things, more usability things, and more security things, and just kind of more slow improvements.
Okay, thank you. So you also mentioned the layer 2 protocols, and so as you expect the layer 2 gas fee would decrease in the future, so you are kind of encouraging people to use L2 rather than using the ETH chain directly. I'm asking because there come more competitors in the market claiming that they are faster than Ethereum. So how would you say on the speed problem, and also how would you recommend using the layer 2?
I think in general, anything that a non-Ethereum chain can do in Ethereum layer 2 should be able to do as well. And this will especially be true in the longer term when we have data sharding. So I think there's going to be a lot of innovation in the Ethereum layer 2 ecosystem, and I expect that. I think it's totally good for people to move to layer 2s. I think layer 2s are the major part of Ethereum scaling strategy, and it's they are an excellent place for application developers to move to if they want to start paying lower fees today. And they're definitely an excellent alternative to just moving out of the Ethereum ecosystem entirely.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So as we are talking about the layer 2, I also would talk about some DeFi projects. And as you know, Polygon, API 3, and other DeFi projects, they are trying to adopt DAO. For the people who are not familiar with DAO, it means decentralized autonomous organization. So what's your perspective on this DAO experiment of the DeFi project?
I think the DAO experiments are very interesting. I think, as I have written about many times, I think we still do need a lot of work on improving DAO governance and coming up with better solutions for DAO governance, because the current coin voting based approaches are just not very good. But so I think we just so far need more experimentation, and I'm happy to see that there's lots of people doing lots of experiments, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna move on to one of the biggest application on Ethereum. We can talk about the Axie Infinity. It's arguably the most popular application on Ethereum, and it's a very interesting study case in many different perspectives. We cannot talk all about that here today, but please share with us the most important learning point from Axie for the players in the blockchain ecosystem.
I'm just thinking about how I should answer this. I guess I think it's definitely good to see that there are a lot of these game projects that are launching and starting to run on Ethereum, and lots of people are actually using them. And there's other great examples of this, like Dark Forest is another good example. There's just a lot of it's good to see this happening, because it just shows that there's much more diversity in the kinds of things that people can do on top of Ethereum. It's not just a DeFi platform, and that's so I guess I hope that people do more things like that in the future. It's definitely good that that all of those experiments are happening, and I definitely really hope to see more.
Okay, yeah, so I think the play to earn is the main theme of Axie Infinity, and there is even a scholarship in the game run by some project like YGG. They are recently funded by A16G. And like, I mean, like that's kind of, renting the NFT and, and earning from the game is pretty, it's kind of out of box thinking. I mean, do you think that in the future many people can make their living in the only this like virtual native world?
I definitely think more and more people will. I think, especially, the pandemic has definitely kind of rapidly moved a lot of people into living their lives on the internet and getting people used to that. So I expect that people are going to, people have learned how to kind of have a big part of their lives in a metaverse or an internet of some kind already. And I expect that a lot of things are going to change in the future just because of that. Like I think we're going to see the effects of this for many years to come, and I expect a decade from now there will be lots of people that just make all of their money from doing something inside of a metaverse. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah. So as I already showing off my virtual identity, NFTs and the metaverse are the hottest keywords this year. And actually, Harvey Invest actually wants to build a bank in those metaverses too. So we see many people buy CryptoPunk, apes, and penguins, and believing that they represent their identities in this new virtual world. And this is one of my virtual identity, but I would show just myself here. Maybe some people may like the digitalized version of myself, but anyway. So like many people are using this kind of the virtual identity, but at the same time, other people are arguing it's just bubble and they don't see intrinsic value from the JPEG or just virtual digital assets. So what's your vision and what's your opinion on this, the intrinsic values of the NFTs and how would you say it's going to be really, more important in this like new virtual world?
I definitely think that we should not make any long-term conclusions about the NFT market from what we have seen so far. Just like I think in the crypto space, you should not make any long-term conclusions from anything until it has survived at least one full bull and bear cycle, right? Because we know that it's possible for things to survive in the short term just because of speculation, but then they just collapse in like 6 months or in 1 year, and then people forget about them, right? So I guess the open question with NFTs still is like, what will the NFT market look like 4 years from now, right? Because I think like we're not building for the next 1 year. We're trying to build for the next like 50 or 100 years, if not longer. And that's so I wonder, are we creating an ecosystem that is actually sustainable, or is this something that will exist for some time and then people realize that if they buy an NFT, that no one else will wants to buy it from them, and so people stop wanting to buy them. I don't know, and I definitely think that like the NFT creators themselves have a responsibility to try to kind of come up with clearer models for like why the NFTs that they sell could have long-term value. Like I think they definitely should not think about it as like I sell an NFT and I forget about it. But how that will work, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of different models. I guess we'll, because I think like actually do actually. Like it's not just like and then like it's not just a monkey or a rock that you buy and then forget about. It's
Oh my, another unstable network. Actually, Vitaly, I think there was an
something that you
important
can use.
in the later of your answer, can you just summarize the later part of your answers? Because there was a network, unstable network problem. Yeah, it's really difficult, Vitaly, can you hear me? Vitaly, are you there?
I'm here. Are you here?
Oh yeah. Actually, we missed the later part of your answer. Can you shortly summarize it, please?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, that virtual worlds are interesting for NFTs because virtual worlds can actually provide long-term value to an NFT, right? Because if you have an NFT that has some kind of function in a virtual world, then it's not like, you buy a monkey or you buy a rock and then there's nothing else you can do with it. Like you actually buy an item and it actually is useful. It has value inside of an ecosystem for the long term. So I think that's interesting. I think, I hope that that interesting things will come as a result.
Okay. And the next question, actually, you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable. Can I ask if you personally purchased, how much value of the NFTs?
Again, I've purchased a few, but definitely not any of the $1 million ones. I don't know. I'm not one of the crazy monkey buyers. But
Okay, that's good. I mean, I asked this question because there are NFTs that have values in the traditional market, like artwork, and there are other kinds of digital native NFTs which might not have values currently today outside of their communities, right? So they even rent the CryptoPunk or other, the digital native NFTs to get more followers on Twitter. So how would you see these would you see any say it's different from the first kind and the other kind, or do you have a different view on that? I mean would you see the did you get the question?
I mean, I guess I expect there to be many different kinds of NFTs in general, right? I think, in general, people are definitely going to start, I think the younger generations are definitely going less interested in physical things, and they're less interested in the idea that something is real if you can touch it, and they're more comfortable with things that, it's possible that people will come up with ways of turning those things into digital NFTs that can be traded. I guess we'll see. But I do think that within the space of digital NFTs, there is just going to it's not going to be one type of thing. There's going to be many different types. There will be the rocks, there will be the video game items, there will be the ENS names, there will be NFTs representing objects in the real world. So I expect there to be many different kinds of NFTs that have different properties.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. Actually, I think my time is almost running up. I would ask for the last question. Many people should be curious about how Ethereum Foundation is working and how this Ethereum is developed. Actually, it's not a regular IT company like Google or Facebook. It's more like a DAO as far as I understand. So how would you explain Ethereum Foundation to the people who are not familiar in this blockchain scene?
So the Ethereum Foundation is a very distributed organization. So the Ethereum Foundation has, I think, about 100.
there's another
50
that
people.
we see.
But the Ethereum Foundation also has a large grants program, right? And the Ethereum on the grant program, the Ethereum Foundation actually spends more money on staff. And so like the grant program gives money to these independent projects, like for example, Lighthouse, Prismatic, Nimbus, Teku, Nethermind, Starkware, Layer 2 projects, cryptography projects, researchers. Like most of the Ethereum Foundation's budget actually goes to just supporting all of these different independent groups in the ecosystem. And then even within the foundation itself, it's split up into many different teams, and each team is fairly autonomous. So there's the research team, and the research team does its thing. There is the guest team, the Python team does its thing. So it like more than 10 countries around the world. So it has a lot of so it's very geographically decentralized in that way as well. I think it gives a lot of freedom to every individual contributor, and people have a lot of different ways to be part of the foundation. I think so far it's been quite successful.
So do you know like how many countries the people are working for this foundation, and you are not interested in it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not an important question.
Yeah, and
that's our issue.
yeah, I know that, and then yeah, no, if more than 10, and more than 10 for the Ethereum Foundation, and then if you include people working for companies that receive grants from the Ethereum Foundation, then probably more than 20 or 30. So quite a lot of different places.
Yeah. I just want to give more understanding to the people who are not in the blockchain and like how this Ethereum Foundation is working. So I think it's time for the audience to get some questions from the audience.
Right.
Young?
Yeah. So I actually have a question because so I guess today's topic was focused more on the scalability, usability, and how starting in a layer 2 is going to help Ethereum and cryptocurrency to be more useful in the real world. And recently, El Salvador, they decided to take cryptocurrency as a legal tender. But my question is, it's great that we're trying to get Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency used in the real world. But at the same time, the core philosophy or the whole concept of blockchain was decentralization. And how do you feel about these governments trying to sort of lead the mass engagement of this blockchain industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think the El Salvador case is one where I'm actually fairly critical of especially the like Bitcoin people that were very excited about it, because like to me it's very important that like cryptocurrency has this spirit of kind of like openness and freedom. Like it's an open system. You can use it if you want to use it, and if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it, or you can use a different one. And El Salvador, like they're not just making it like it's not even just the government accepting it. Like they're basically trying to force people in the country to take Bitcoin, and like I think that both kind of goes against the principles there. And I think also, especially given where cryptocurrency is at today, like it's there's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of problems. Like there are scaling problems, there's usability problems. There's also security problems. There's also problems with scams in the space. And so I actually think it's healthier and better if blockchains and cryptocurrency continue to take a slower and more organic path to growing, to give people time to figure out and to kind of deal with the problems that arise. So I think like this kind of like rapid kind of like forced adoption of trying to just switch an entire country over to a cryptocurrency within a few months. Like I really do not support that. But at the same time, I do think that having government engagement and government adoption of the right kind is a very positive thing. And I know that there are more and more places that are passing laws to like be more friendly to cryptocurrencies. Like I saw Panama passed a law to encourage accepting, I think it was Bitcoin and Ether for like payments and for and using blockchains for some use cases. I know other things. Wyoming has their legislation to legally recognize DAOs. So like those things are happening, and I think that's very good. But I definitely like also kind of caution against governments trying to kind of push blockchain and cryptocurrency adoption in a way that's too forced or too fast.
Okay. Actually, we didn't have much questions from the YouTube channel, but I want to open this mic to the floor. Is there any questions for Vitalik or Eun-Gwang today? Okay. Can someone pass the mic?
Thank you. Trying to take my mask off so that you would be better able to understand me. But so my name is Stephen Clapham. I train investors and help them understand mainly equities, and crypto's a particularly difficult subject to get one's head around. I just wonder if you could look forward 12, 24, 36 months, what changes do you think you will be most surprising if you were to come back here and address this audience in that period, in that time frame? Thank you.
Like, what kinds of surprising changes to the ecosystem I expect in the next 3 years? I guess my answer to that. I think us solving the efficiency and the scaling problems that I talked about today is going to open the door for many more kinds of applications, and especially applications outside finance, and especially applications that get used by a much larger number of people. Now, what those applications are, I don't know yet. Like NFTs, for example, I was completely surprised by. I was not expecting NFTs to become this popular, and yet NFTs have become popular. So, like, what is the next NFT-like thing that's going to take over? Like, our blockchain is going to completely take over and create some kind of gaming metaverse. Our blockchain's going to start getting recording every business transaction in some way. Is there going to be much wider adoption of cryptocurrency for payments? Are people going to be doing their charity through instead of through regular organizations through DAOs? Are people going to be instead of doing startups doing DAOs? I don't know. I think many kinds of things could happen, but part of my vision in making Ethereum a general purpose platform is precisely the fact that I don't know what people could use the technology for, and I wanted to open up and create space for people's creativity. And I think the blockchain space has done a lot of that already. And what the things are that people will invent in 3 years, I don't know, but I'm sure that they'll be very interesting.
Okay, is there any more questions from the floor? Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you, Vitalik and Eunkwang, and everyone watching this session. We're sorry about the technical difficulty that we had, but thank you for staying with us. And that concludes the session. So thank you for joining us, and please be sure to take all your belongings when you're leaving the hall. Thank you.